Welcome to The Kid is in School, where we talk about whatever we want since our kid is not here to interrupt us. But we don't have a lot of time before the bell rings, so let's get right into it.
So the solar eclipse, big deal happening, I guess, which I did not really realize it was such a big deal, except I was in Indiana, and apparently people are traveling from all over the country to go to Indiana to see the full solar eclipse. They got posters at the airport.
That's where you can see it the best, right?
I guess so. I didn't ever actually hear, because I thought, I think I Googled it, and it seemed like Texas was the best place to see it. Oh. Although maybe that was the last one. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I didn't look into it extensively because it didn't matter to me nearly as much as it mattered to other people.
Right. Why is the solar eclipse not that interesting to you?
I can't say it's not interesting. I find it to be interesting, but it's also not something that I feel like the Aztecs, where we all need to look and see God blotting out the sun type of thing. It just seems like, oh, yeah, that's one of the things that happens in nature, and that's cool that it's happening, but I don't need to travel to another state to see it in a different way.
I don't know that the Aztecs, thinking that they're getting first of all, I never heard of that version. That's what they thought a solar eclipse was, but I think that the main appeal is that it's a natural phenomenon that is rare. So usually I don't feel that. I don't know. What is the word? What's the adjective when you feel a certain way about something that's rare? I don't feel that interested about something rare unless it's like they're bringing back the McRib for a limited time. Because you just never know when you're going to get it again.
Now that I would travel to Indiana for.
No, but like in my family, we get excited about 7-Eleven free Slurpee Day. Mm-hmm. I never know if it's Slurpee, slushy, or squishy. Everybody's got a version of it. But
squishy? I don't know.
The squishy's from The Simpsons. Okay. That's their version of it, but it's all the same. I mean, anyway, who cares? But that's once a year. So if it's once a year, you know what? I'm going to change my mind. I'm pretty excited. I just don't feel like I have enough time to get ready for it. I didn't get the special glasses. I'm not going to leave enough time to make a pinhole camera out of pieces of paper. So I feel like it's one of those things where I'm just going to have to miss it. Like, unless I take a sneaky Donald Trump style peek at it. Yeah. Well, he gave a long look at the sun.
Was that even an eclipse or just I stare at the sun?
I don't know what that was about.
I stare at the sun, I drink bleach, all of the stuff that he actually probably never did.
He defied death. He was like a magician or a daredevil in his term, but I'm trying to forget a lot of it. So let me think. I think I might take a quick peek just in case it's interesting, but I think it's more cool. Here's why I'm interested. Not because it's rare and not because whatever you said about the Aztec thing, which still makes me laugh, was the whole daylight becomes dark for just a moment. And I want to see what happens to the people. I want to see if they just like freeze like fainting goats, or if I'm just hoping that everybody's going to be quiet during that moment.
I don't know. I mean, New York just had an earthquake, and now the sun is being blotted out. So maybe there is God's judgment happening.
That's right. A sign from above is what you were saying.
If I turn around, there's a person that's turned into a pillar of salt. Then I'm out. I'm out.
If it's me.
Yeah.
Just don't check to see if it's me, because then I'll definitely turn into salt.
Yeah.
No. She didn't, right? She just screamed. She was walking behind him, Lot's wife.
No, she turned into a pillar of salt.
Oh, she really did?
Yeah, she was the salt.
She heard him trip.
No, nobody tripped.
Someone looked back and turned into salt.
She looked back to the city. So they were supposed to leave the city and not look back.
Okay.
And
if you look back, you're going to be salt.
Yeah, she turned around and looked back and turned into a pillar of salt.
Oh, no.
Now, I'm not 100% sure. She must have been in front of him, because he wouldn't have turned back to look at her.
Right.
So I guess.
Yeah, because then he'd also be salt. You'd have way too much salt, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think.
I do like your version of the story, though. Somebody tripped.
No. I think
they screamed.
I'm confusing it with a planetarium field trip that we took. There's a story about astronomy and the formation of the stars that represents a story of somebody turning back, and but it's not the salt thing. But I do have an interpretation of that biblical story that when you look back on the past, it makes you salty.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I could see that. Yeah.
I'm just dropping pearls of wisdom on you today.
That's where the phrase comes from, getting salty.
Yeah. Comes from dwelling on the past, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we I don't remember many stories from a planetarium. You took a field trip to a planetarium, right? We grew up in the same town at the same time.
I don't remember going to a planetarium.
Not the same school though. See, your school hated you.
I don't know if they hated us. They took us to the
kidding.
Children's Museum.
Oh well, they loved you more then in that case, because I would have much rather gone to the Children's Museum than a planetarium at the local high school. But yeah, I remember Orion's belt. There's a guy named Orion, and he has a belt, and there's 3 stars that make it up. I can always find that constellation. Is there a constellation you can always find? I could never find the Dipper, big or small.
I saw the Dippers when I was a kid. I haven't looked in a long time, and I feel like I have to travel to Indiana to see anything in the cosmos. But the constellations, the Orion's belt, the Dippers, all that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of imagination involved with that.
Yeah.
There's the guy that has the bow and arrow, and it's like, it's these 4 stars, and you're like, that
barely looks like a bow and arrow.
I've done the connect the dots puzzles, and there's a lot more dots than these stars.
Yeah, exactly.
Considering there's billions of stars out there, they really should add more to make it look like the person.
It's time they update what they're supposed to be anyway.
Yeah,
you're right. I never agreed with that. And plus, dipping, you just say baking cup at this point. A measuring cup. That's what it looked like. Yeah, nobody dips a ladle with a handle into water anymore.
No, it's something like that either a prisoner from the early 20th century would be using when they're working on a chain gang, or something that you and the horse both drink out of.
Yeah, it's such a downer.
West Day.
Yeah, exactly. That's something you share, and it tastes metallic. I don't want to think about a dipper anymore. No, an ice cream scoop. You're dipping that. Then I'm interested. Call it the big scoop and the little scoop.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved the planetarium, and I think I went to one recently at the Children's Museum, actually. I took our daughter there, and it kind of made me seasick, and that made me sad, because I thought the old motion sickness settling into my adulthood years is taking all the fun. I can't do a pirate ship at an amusement park anymore.
You can't do a starship, apparently.
I wouldn't try to do the Gravitron, and no, I won't do. I won't do the starship. Yeah. When we watched The Abyss, I think you listened to me rant about how outer space is doomed, and that wasn't even about outer space. That was about the ocean.
Yeah, I mean there is aliens involved in it, but they for some reason live in the ocean, I guess.
Oh, I didn't tell you this. I don't want to jump too far away from the subject of field trips yet, but did you read recently that there is a reservoir trapped in woodite or some kind of rock? So there's water. There's a vast amount of water beneath the Earth's surface that is, I don't know, many times the volume of the actual oceans on the surface of the Earth.
I've not heard this.
It's fascinating. Now, I heard it from Instagram, but I looked at the comments that made sense, and then I clicked on their profiles, and they seem to be people who have their lives together.
I feel like you went from, I thought you read a scientific paper or article to just an Instagram video where like, oh no.
I saw a meme, and I like to comment under the meme, and I'm going to base my whole thesis on this. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's everybody's conversation anymore. Like, you have to say I read it to have credibility, but the truth is you saw a picture of it.
Yeah, nobody's read anything in years.
We're going backwards. We're going to caveman times where we're just drawing pictures on the wall.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was fascinating, but since you haven't heard about it, we'll save it for another podcast. Because no, it has like cool implications, maybe. If you think science is cool. So let me think. Back to field trips. Our daughter's going on her first field trip, and you and I have the opportunity, one of us, to chaperone. Is it one of us because only one parent is allowed, or is it one of us because our schedule is busy? I can't remember.
They only have one parent because there's a lot of parents that might want to chaperone, so they only have a limited number of spots. So for one, it might be one parent. Also, it might be 0 parents, depending on the how many parents sign up.
Right. I do notice that whenever she's had a walking trip before, that there's always a handful of the usual suspects, the very dedicated parents. And when I drop her off, I'm like, what are you doing here? And they're saying, oh, I'm a chaperone. I'm like,
that email I ignored from 4 months ago.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm on the PTA. One parent asked me, they're like, are you attending this event? Not this one where I'm talking about, but like some dance party. And I was like, I don't think so. I've never heard about that. And then she went on to describe it, and I said, "Oh yeah, we have that like magnet to our fridge." I've been ignoring that for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't forget the dance.
No, these parents, they don't know what they're up against with ADHD.
And I want to develop a theory that all of the kids in this gifted and talented program have parents with ADHD, but only a handful of us are constantly late to dropping our kids off.
Yeah, you know which ones have the adult ADD.
Yeah, I know which parents deal with it, but none of us look at each other in the eye. We don't like commiserate.
Lots of shame involved, I'm sure.
It is. So yeah, I am gonna try to chaperone the trip that's going to, I think, our local MTA museum. Is that the option? What were the other ones?
The other one is the aquarium.
Aquarium. No, I chose the aquarium. I want to face my fear of fish.
Yeah, I think you didn't want to do that because there's a bus involved. The other one was a walking tour.
Meanwhile, all of our field trips involved the bus. That was like one of the coolest parts of our field trips in Indiana growing up in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And buses, by the way, one of the few vehicles to which click it or ticket did not apply. I remember counting one seatbelt per 5 seats on my school bus.
We didn't have any, but I think they do now. I think they've got full seatbelts.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The buses look exactly the same, but they've added seatbelts. They're still the same hard brown seats.
Yes.
But I do think that they do have seatbelts, that they're required to wear seatbelts.
The thing I remember about the seats is, maybe you did this too, studying the pattern. It almost looks like some kind of animal skin. It's vinyl, but it's got like some kind of weird bump pattern. And then I would put my little knobby knees up against it. I'm remembering summertime because I remember looking at bare knees in my shorts and just letting my feet dangle. I was small enough and flexible enough to do this, but that was the comfortable way to ride the school bus. Sounds so dangerous. I would not have survived a crash.
I never hear about buses crashing ever.
No, people steer clear of buses. Mm-hmm. First of all, they've got that menacing stop sign that blinks. So it's like if you even on your bike, if you try to come forward, you're going to be accused of hurting a child.
Yeah, well, that's why you got to speed around them as quickly as possible.
Before they get the stop sign out.
You see that thing start to slow down, brake lights go on, you got to zoom right around.
Heaven forbid you have to watch a kid get off the bus, because having a kid do any simple task is going to take 3 times the amount. Oh, I found a rock.
Yeah, they take their time. And the worst is on these, they're not dirt roads. They're just like local highways, 2-lane roads in the country.
Yeah, there's no getting around them.
Yeah, the buses there's farm equipment that you sometimes have to get around, tractors, hay balers.
How dare they, by the way?
Buses.
Don't they have wheels big enough to just ride on the grass?
I know. They really
at an
should.
angle. Just ride on the hillside.
Yeah, go into that ditch. You can. Those wheels can easily fit in the ditch.
Get yourself in that ditch and get out of the way, because you can't go more than 10 miles an hour in that tractor. Mm-hmm. That's my fond memory, was getting comfortable on the bus that way. Probably eating candy before or after school. And then, well, how about you? What do you remember about field trips, if it wasn't the bus ride itself?
Well, bus rides in general, I just remember that's a place for bullies to thrive.
Oh, dear. So, just in the back, though. You don't have to go all the way back there.
Yeah, well, you get made fun of for sitting in the front for being a nerd. If you go to the back, you're made fun of and bullied and punched. So it's a catch-22 on the whole thing. So, yeah, sitting up front was... that's where the babies sit. You know?
Really? I never heard that rumor, but they were taken by the kids with glasses.
Well, there's like a sweet
notice
spot, like about 2/3 of the way back.
That's right.
That's where you sit because you're not the completely cool kids. They sit in the last couple rows, but you're not the little kids that are sitting directly up front. So you're kind of like right in the middle, and you hope that nobody even notices you exist.
My memory in middle school was that the 8th graders would sit in the very back and be so loud. And one time, one of them kept saying "corn," and it made everybody burst into laughter in the back of the bus. And so a lot of us 7th or 6th graders would turn around and feign interest, like, "Oh, they're being amusing." But inside, I was just like, "Go away! You're noisy and scary."
You're ruining my quiet bus ride.
My peaceful knee rest. Mm-hmm. Okay, so buses sound pretty traumatic for you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, a couple different times in elementary school. I started walking to school in fourth grade. I think fourth. My elementary went to sixth grade, so I think fourth, fifth, and sixth you could walk to school. I started doing that immediately as soon as I could.
Sounds way too young. A 10-year-old walking by the road. Ah, dear.
Oh, it's through a neighborhood,
True, that's right. You can.
And then junior high got dropped off by my dad most of the time because we moved right before junior high, and so moved to a different district than where I had started junior high, so it would have been a different junior high. And so instead of taking me out, he just dropped me off every day. Mm-hmm. And then in high school, as soon as I could drive to school, I started doing that. So junior and seniors were allowed to drive to school, and so I started.
Oh yeah, the ultimate privilege.
Yes.
Super, super fun.
Get off that bus just as soon as possible, just immediately.
But what happened to you on the bus? Like, did you get a wedgie?
Oh, everyone's more taunting and that kind of bullying.
Yeah, so you just don't want people looking at you,
making fun of you
and talking about what you look like.
Yeah.
Like, look at this guy. I never got that, but I also, I mean, it wasn't comfortable. I don't think many kids, if you're not the cool kid, you don't want to, if you're not the loud kid, let's put it that way. If you're not the one making all the noise, it's Lord of the Flies. You're Piggy. So yeah.
There's a lot of times probably most days people are not messing with you. Mm-hmm. But it's the days that they do latch on to you.
That stay with you.
Yeah. So.
Well, I remember, first of all, my memory of the bus is super loud, stinky. The exhaust and then the noise. And then the bus driver was always cranky, man or woman. There was one good one I had. I can't remember his name, but I used to draw pictures, and he would always be like, wow, that's great. He never... It reminds me of our daughter now. She'll just unsolicited be like, you want to know something amazing I can do? And so I would show him my inventions or something and really take up his time. And he'd be like, that's just amazing. All right, sit down now.
Okay, let's go.
He was great. But every other bus driver was like, y'all shut up back there.
Yeah, well, probably because apparently you had the noisiest bus ever.
We did.
I didn't remember buses being that noisy.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm not bothered by sound the way you are.
That's true. Cacophonous.
Yeah.
I didn't just sneeze, by the way. So where did you go on field trips that you liked?
Well, the only ones I remember is I think we went to the zoo and we went to the Children's Museum.
Oh, yeah.
And the Children's Museum was always the fun one, because they had, at least at the time, there was like a cave you could walk through.
That's right. With the blind fish. Do you remember the fish that were like translucent or very, very white, pale?
I don't remember that. I just remember it seemed like you walked through a big tree stump.
Yeah.
And then there was Egypt. There was like an ancient Egypt tomb that you would go into.
Yeah, I remember that too.
So there's those, and the big dinosaurs, obviously the dinosaur bones.
One of the things they added in the later years of the tomb, which the pyramid doesn't exist anymore, was a replica based off of a skull of what the face might look like. It was nowhere near accurate, but it was cool to think about. Like, wow, they're coming to life. How could people live this long ago? And I like the international area where you would hear steel drum music. Do you remember that? You could climb up the stairs and appear on the top of an elephant's head. Does that ring a bell?
I don't really remember the elephant head, but I do remember the steel drums because it was, I think it was in the area that was Africa.
Oh, maybe so.
And they had some steel drums, although I kind of associate steel drums with
the Caribbean,
but it feels like it was in the African section.
If it was mislabeled African and they should have said Caribbean, I wouldn't put it past Indiana. They tried their best.
Although it would make sense that the Caribbean would have gotten the steel drums from Africa.
Well, yeah, there's an African influence there for sure. And I also remember, do you remember this little area in that international zone where you could lift a little flap and smell myrrh or frankincense? Do you remember that?
I don't.
Oh, man.
Little flaps.
I'm so sad that it's gone. Yeah, it was like a little wooden flap. It's like, lift here and smell here, sniff here. Anyway, I had my routine. I would do all that area. And you never saw the fish, and you never smelled the flaps.
That sounds disturbing. Smell the flaps.
But my favorite field trip was to see the human body. I don't know what health center it was, or if it even still exists. But you got to go into a room and sit and watch a model human light up in certain parts, and you'd see their heart glow and their intestines glow. That doesn't ring a bell to you?
Not at all. I don't want to see any intestines glowing. I know what that means. I see the pharmaceutical commercials right now. When the intestines glow, that's IBS.
That's right. It's time for the yogurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know did we talk about that last time about commercials? Oh yeah, I did. I said I don't want any graphic depictions. I like the very rudimentary illustrations of when you need to eat yogurt. So anyway, anyway, I thought that we would have like field trips that matched up. Except when you said Indianapolis Zoo, yeah, I loved the zoo. I don't know how they kept track of all of us kids.
I feel like there was
That's a huge
that
zoo.
we would break off in groups, maybe, or like you can go anywhere, but just make sure you're back at this place by this time.
Right.
Although I don't remember ever wearing a watch. I don't remember there being clocks there.
I know. I was not the type of person that was going to keep track of when we should be where.
And maybe these places aren't as big as I remember them being. It's like it seemed like it was a whole giant city there at the zoo.
Yes, it felt enormous.
And maybe it's only like a, 4 large exhibits, and everything kind of meets in the center. And
I'll give the Indianapolis Zoo credit. It's still amazing. I think it's still a very varied place. It's got a lot of cool things to see. My favorite was the desert area. It has like a little, at the time, I don't know if it still does, but a conservatory. It was all glass, like a big glass dome. Right when Biodome came out, I feel like that's when that appeared. And you could it would feel dry in there and quiet and hot. You remember that one?
Is that where like lizards and like kimono dragons?
That's right.
Things were in, yeah.
If you look carefully, you might see a little, creepy crawly like a lizard go by.
Yeah, you have to look carefully at the zoo for anything, because I feel like
I know.
every day that we would go, oh, I'm sorry, the lions are asleep.
They're
not
just
hanging
got
out.
fed.
Yeah.
So
Bears aren't coming out today. They're hibernating.
I know. It makes you wonder, did they ever have these animals to begin with?
It's really, a trip to the zoo was just go to this outdoor area where you read signs about animals.
Yeah, and then at the food area, they had these dolphin-shaped steak fries I always wanted, but we'd have to eat our peanut butter and jelly from our lunchbox. It's like, smell these delicious fries and hamburgers, and now eat a PBJ that smells like a banana because your mom put a banana in the box.
The food on field trips, because it probably was peanut butter and jelly, because they certainly have stopped serving peanut butter at schools now, but not back then. So they had probably just these giant cardboard boxes full of these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that were in baggies, but not Ziploc bags, just loose baggies, and probably an apple or something like that.
The loose baggie with the fold-over flap.
Yep.
That children could not master, but parents understood. You just reminded me, we took a field trip in high school to the Indianapolis 500, and they gave us a white cardboard box with actual fried chicken inside and a red delicious apple and maybe something else. But that's all I cared about. I was like, this is like a real picnic. It's like a picnic from a movie.
Was it cold fried chicken?
It was cold fried chicken. It was so good. It was my favorite time. Because, yeah, everything you just described is exactly what kids could expect. Like, okay, time for my rations.
It sounds like it's what they had left over from the last big race.
Maybe. I don't know. But I was happy. And so, yeah, wherever the health center was, I have to look up where that glowing human body was. We had that. And we also took a field trip in grade school to a ballet. Did you remember seeing a ballet as a kid?
I don't think I know we went and saw either a musical or a play, and I don't remember what it was. Like, it's been too long ago to remember what the thing was, but it was interesting.
What if I told you it was Peter and the Wolf?
It might have been Peter and the Wolf. I think it might have been.
That's what I remember seeing. But
yeah, and it was at the Indianapolis Repertory Theater, I think.
I feel like I'm at a dinner party with you. Not a dinner party. I'm at an adult mixer, and you're by the snacks, and I'm just keeping you from eating your food. Like, I'm just like, and tell me more what you remember. And you're like, nothing much.
No, yeah, I don't know. I don't remember doing that. But anyway, can I have the salami?
Yeah, man with hamburgers on his tray just walks by you, and you're like, God, I missed him again. Man, when will this lady stop?
Yeah. Whenever the dumplings come by, though, I am definitely ending this conversation.
Where do you stand on permission slips? Do you get excited when our daughter, brings one home for you to sign? Or are you just like, what's this nonsense?
No, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't have strong opinions about field trip permission slips or any permission slips. Because she's not in trouble with any of that stuff.
Right.
It's just stuff like, I just make sure that she gets to go on them because I do not. Occasionally, do you remember the kid that didn't have the permission slip signed for things?
Oh, yeah.
And probably because their parent had ADHD and forgot to send it in, and
No,
so
they were conspiracy theorists.
So they just have to stay behind.
Yeah, it's so sad. That's why, as a kid, I cared about a permission slip. I did not forget to bring that to my mom's attention. But also, it was about rules. I was very much about like, don't make the teacher mad. But our kid like barely remembers. We're getting notices like about library books she's got overdue, and she brought somebody else's homework home for a full straight week. I was like, stop bringing this kid's work home, and she's like, I just never look in there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, that's when we started saying, or at least I did. I said, "Oh, okay. Well, you don't get to have the Nintendo Switch until you bring your homework home. Like it's just done. You don't get any extra playtime with that stuff until you do what you're supposed to do, because this is your responsibility."
Yeah. I'd like to be the parent that only allows Nintendo Switch on the weekend anyway, but I grew up with Nintendo every day after school. Old, gray, boxy and Nintendo.
Latchkey kid, is that what you were?
I was a Ricky Lake kid, is what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
You get home in time for Ricky Lake. You get a little Hostess apple pie from your local pharmacy. All our candy was sold at a pharmacy, by the way. It wasn't at or a convenience store. We had a convenience store in the corner.
Yeah. Well, Ricky Lake kid makes me think that you were missing. Like, it seems like something like they have those special episodes for like missing kids.
Ricky Lake had 3 episodes: missing kids, makeovers, and firemen.
Yeah.
Fireman calendars.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's all stuff like, in the past. And, do you feel like you learned any lessons from that stuff? Like,
yeah,
from field trips, or maybe even now, just any sort of.
I'm at a time
growth.
where I'm taking stock of the life lessons I've learned. Especially the ones you learn the hard way, the ones that take a little too long to stick. One for me is pyramid schemes. They're all the same. Now, I think that's a no-brainer to you, but multi-level marketing being designed to, the way they make money is to recruit other people to sell the same product. I would always evaluate it based on the product. This is skincare, and everybody needs skincare. So sure, I'll buy some from my friend. And then inevitably that invitation to sell it on my own would come. And I'd be like, oh, wait, this is different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the real recruiting in that stuff comes in the form of getting other people to sell.
Which is hilarious to me. It's it doesn't matter what the product is at all. It just is never going to make enough money. What's going to make money is the human capital.
Yeah, well, because it's not just the products being sold, because I guess they have to do that. But when they sign people up to sell, those people that sell also have to buy the product as well.
Yeah.
So it is something where it's like,
whammy.
well, in order to make, level 3, you have to buy, if, you buy $100 worth of product then you also get to, start making money off of the people that you recruit. And so they've got all of these twisted and wicked ways of trying to get you to be part of their.
You're reminding me. This is why my mom didn't want us to sell chocolate bars at school. There would always be, it was some kind of fundraiser, but she always would grumble about it. You don't need to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Selling chocolate. So something about it she didn't trust. Meanwhile, Girl Scout cookies I was in on. And I never sold enough to get the prize I wanted, but because I was not motivated. But she was pretty enthusiastic about that for us and would help us. And she'd ask her coworkers, just like all moms do, to buy boxes, and then we'd deliver them. She'd deliver them with us, make sure that gets done. So I don't know. Introduction to multi-level marketing via Girl Scouts. I never had to recruit any other girls to be brownies or in my troop.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. This was just free labor.
Yeah. Child labor.
Yeah. You go sell this stuff for us. We make 100% of the profit, and if you do really well, then we might give you a stuffed animal or something.
Yeah. We'll give you something like carnival prize.
Mm-hmm. I remember doing that. There was something that we would sell for school, and it wasn't chocolate bars or anything like that, but there was a little catalog of things that people could buy.
The catalog.
And I think I sold enough to earn one of those colored pencils that has all the different colors, and you pull out the tabs.
Ooh.
And put it down at the bottom when you want to change colors. So,
okay, yep.
And push through. I don't know what those are called, but that's probably the best prize I ever earned.
The world's most tedious pencil. That's what
Yes.
it's called. That's great that you got that. Now you're reminding me of Scholastic books. That was the thing, a catalog I could get behind, mainly for Garfield comics. But I was gonna say Oh, yeah. The way a pyramid scheme is designed or a multi-level marketing is designed to only recruit new people to recruit more people. Does that mean religion is multi-level marketing?
I have to think about that because,
Just evangelical styles.
I mean, I think that you could say that the way that some churches run themselves
Yeah.
could be seen that way is that because if you get down to the idea of what I'll use just Christians as an example because I don't know every religion well enough to know what are the tenets and
Right, I don't either.
what's needed and all that and conversion all that, but the idea of being a Christian and a Jesus follower is that you are sharing this message so that they have life changing event and decide to follow Jesus himself. The way a lot of modern churches are run is it doesn't really matter if your life has changed. It just matters that you're here in this building showing up and donating either your time or money.
Right.
And so that's a little, so yeah, that version of church might be kind of like a multi-level. You tell your friends, bring them, and although it's not really required for them to sell or anybody to sell anything other than the being part of something.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I had a thought just then when you said that. Oh, it's leaving me now.
Well, it'll come back because or it won't, or we'll never hear about it again. ADHD. So like,
oh man, what was it? It was. Oh yes, no, it was the flock. Like if you're a follower of Jesus, he's often depicted as a shepherd, and those who trust him are his flock, and that's a positive thing. And meanwhile, people who are anti-religion are like, "What are you, a bunch of sheeple?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yes, we are, and we like it."
That's actually the exact metaphor that Jesus used. Yes.
Yeah, but it's a positive for one, but it's like a negative for other. Anyway, I thought that was very funny.
Yeah. Well, even thinking about like sheep and the way people use it, it's like really, I think more than being sheep is being like a lemming, where you're just following it regardless of where it goes. Like
you don't question it.
Yeah.
You're just
and you just go right off a cliff. I think a sheep is really, the idea is that you're dependent on the shepherd. Like the shepherd helps keep you safe, fed, and alive,
right,
and out of harm's way, where it's not, you're just dumb and you just keep following right off a cliff,
right, yeah. Which who doesn't want that, to be cradled in someone's arms? Our daughter asked me, she was like, or I said, she said, carry me. And I said, okay, but next time you carry me. And she goes, you're too big to be carried. You don't want to be carried anymore. I said, you never stop wanting to be carried. At least I don't.
Yeah, but you need like Andre the Giant now.
Yeah, she can't do it. But
Big Show.
Hey, that would be pretty cool. I've met Shaquille O'Neal. I should have had him do that.
Could you cradle me, please?
Could you please hold me in your arms? It'd probably be nothing to you.
Yeah, hold me like I'm a little baby.
He'd need some icy hot after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about some happy memories we've got. We're growing up. We're watching our kid form her happiest memories of her life, arguably, except for the great ones she'll create as an adult. I had a really fun time with her playing the game of life, although I lost horribly. I ended bankrupt and she was a millionaire. But
that's really probably the way that the world works, is children are winning at the game of life. Everything, all possibilities are true for you. You can be anything you want to be, and then the adult just goes, oh, this just didn't work out.
Yeah, they still have hope. My hopes have been dashed.
I went down the wrong path, 40 moves ago, and now...
Why did I choose? Exactly. I chose whatever I chose. I earned $12,000 every time I passed payday, and she chose to be a doctor, so she got 50 G's. Mm-hmm. I won the lottery 3 times, and it still didn't matter.
No, it's because you didn't have the right education.
Nope.
I
had way too many kids.
That's exactly what happens to people that win the lottery. They spend it all and they go bankrupt.
Meanwhile, she bought 2 helicopters, gave $120,000 to Children's Orphanage, and then she still ended with $2 million And she played the stock market, and she won every time. I was like, this isn't teaching you about life.
It kind of is, though.
It's teaching you about inequality. But I hope you don't expect to live this life. I hope you're watching very carefully what's happening to my side of the board of this game.
Mm-hmm. Well, she sees that and goes, I'm not making that move.
We played with Orbeez while you were gone.
I don't know what that is.
Those are a water bead. I couldn't tell you what they're made of, but I know that they get inflated with water, and it's probably very bad for the sewage system. But we filled up a latex balloon with them so that she could make her own stress ball.
Okay.
That was fun. We did latex and cornstarch and water. We were just experimenting with different supplies. And anyway, I was developing a happy memory just hanging out with her and watching her do stuff for a length of time. The thing I don't like about parenting, is it time to air grievances yet?
Air your grievance.
Is that the constant movement of now it's time for this thing, now it's time for that thing. Like there's just, and it seems like it's up to me. I should be the one that sets the pace for this day, but it doesn't ever feel up to me. Does that resonate with you?
So you're saying you don't like the responsibilities of parenting because it requires you to parent that entire time?
Constantly.
Yeah.
There's no break. No, I think it's just about it's just not like babysitting. Babysitting, I remember a ton of downtime and the kids just minding their business. And me being like, good thing I brought this really thick school book.
You also were only there for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it felt like... So at that point, when they were busy for 20 minutes at a time, it felt like an eternity. But now it doesn't feel long enough.
Yeah, well, parenting is this constant thing where they want you, which is why once your child starts school, whether it's preschool or kindergarten, whatever, it's a big relief. Because now they are just gone for a chunk of the day, and they're being taken care of by responsible people.
Yeah, they're safe.
You don't have to worry about them. They're just not gone on the street somewhere. But you also get part of your life back.
Yeah, you get mental space to think. So yeah, even though we went from task to task to task, including roller skating, I found a really cool pair of roller skates that looked amazing. Turned out they were completely uncomfortable. My foot fit in them, but then they squeezed, a bunion or something. So I skated with her for a bit. I think if you like high heels and feeling always off balance, you'll love roller skates. But so I watched her skate and learn how to skate. She was doing this thing where she would push with one foot and then let the other one trail behind her like she's on a scooter. And then her legs would spread farther apart and she's almost doing the splits. And I'd be like, come on, you got to push with both feet. She did. She eventually got it. And that was exciting to see.
Did you roller skate well?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, it was the discomfort that I didn't anticipate. I was like, I can't even push through this pain. I'm not doing this. But I didn't wobble. I didn't almost fall over or anything like that. Unless she grabbed at me. I was like, quit clawing at me. She's like, help me. I'm going to fall. I was like, we're both going to fall.
Maybe. Now, did you check these roller skates that you found on the street?
Yeah.
And see if they had insoles in them? And they're not just like somebody took that out and you're just putting your foot right onto that roller skate bed?
Ooh, that's a great point. I don't know. You take a look at it, but they looked fine to me. They looked immaculate. They're like rainbow colored and they had a cloud for the tongue. It was a white cloud shape. The brand was called Moxie. I loved everything about them except how they felt.
They look very old. So maybe,
yeah, they look old. They look retro,
yes.
But they look brand new to me.
Yes, like that is true. I meant they look like they're from the 70s or 80s.
Right, back when
they
before comfort was considered with shoes.
When shoes were meant to be uncomfortable.
I like the idea. But at some point, someone invented sneakers, and it just changed the whole game. Like comfortable shoes to do exercise in.
Well, even over the period of time, they've gotten better because, like, I have this pair of Air Jordan 1s that have been modernized, and they are the most comfortable shoes. So, like, everything's Zoom Air and cushy, but I also have a pair of Air Jordan 1s that are not. They're just like what they were in the day, and they are some of the most uncomfortable shoes.
Like a 1920s leather boot.
Yeah, you're walking on, and I know that I believe Michael Jordan himself was like, these are so uncomfortable. And...
you can't do what I do, kids. Let me just put it. The shoe's not going to help.
Yeah. Be like Mike and hate these shoes as well. They are super uncomfortable.
That's how rich he was. He could just dog, whatever he was marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And people would still buy it. I want to see how bad these shoes are.
You know what you need? You need a pair of shoes where I'm going to set this up. A very uncomfortable shoe company. And I don't need you to sell the shoes. I just need you. I mean, I don't need you to buy the shoes. I need you to sell the shoes.
Yeah.
And get other people to sell the shoes. Does this sound like a good business plan?
I'm in. You know what that reminds me of is how I was thinking a lot of perfumes that are popular right now, because I'm starting to get into fragrance, you know, just like I got into nail polish. I'm watching the TikToks and the Instagrams. And Ariana Grande has several perfumes. And Billie Eilish now has perfumes. And these are singers. These aren't people known for how they smell. Nor are they known for their, like, maybe a chef. If a chef had a fragrance, I'd be like, oh, you get it. Or a wedding, a famous, like Martha Stewart. If she had a fragrance, I'd be like, well, you probably smell flowers all day. You get it.
These have always brought me luck.
Yeah, Elizabeth Taylor had white diamonds. And it dawned on me way too late. Speaking of life lessons I learned the hard way, that they don't ever wear these fragrances. First of all, Ariana Grande can't possibly wear all 7 of her fragrances at once. But, like, they have their own thing they like, you know? They probably are like Chanel No. 5, you know? They just do the old thing.
I don't know, but the nail polish fascination that you've had, I've been okay with. The perfumes give me headaches, so I'm not a huge fan of the fragrances.
I'm so sad.
So airing of my grievances is
good. This is good to hear. I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known otherwise. And that's the sad thing. You and I, we passed some Jehovah's Witnesses today, and we were about 10 feet from them, and I could smell their old lady perfume. It was very floral, and I was like, they're not even close to us, and I can smell what's going on over there. And that reminds me that the paradox of perfume is you buy it because you want to smell good. But too much of that, you lose your sense of smell, so you have to add it. You have to keep layering it to smell it even more. And then you stink. Like, nobody wants to be around you, and you can barely smell yourself.
Well, to be fair, that was not the worst thing I smelled on our walk today in New York City.
Thanks for joining us today. If you had a great time, let us know on social. Follow Kid is in School on Twitter and The Kid is in School on Instagram. Subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Be sure to throw us one of those 5-star ratings and share with your friends. Oh, and do it quickly before the kid gets home.